the best that ever did it, Sugar Shane Hennon, is at the center of the NBA scandal that's going on right now. They just...
Good morning. Today we are here in New York to announce a historic arrest across a wide-sweeping criminal enterprise that envelops both the NBA and La Casa Nostra. The men and women up here standing with me represent a small portion of the leadership team that brought profound justice in an era that needed it more than any. I'll just highlight some of the details in the case and the FBI work, and then you'll hear from the others. But as you now know, individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today. Former, current NBA players and coaches.
So there's two things. Now, what's interesting, there's a whole set of young black gamblers that sell information and were also gambling and had ties to some of these players. So good to see my African-American brothers are getting in on the illegal gambling gold mine that the Italians have been feasting upon for these 100 years. Well, when did gambling probably started getting big in the 50s? So there's a guy from Mississippi, Fairless, hell is his name? Marvis Fairley. Vizino Locks is his thing. This guy, Sugar Shane Hennon, he was, I think, kind of one of the masterminds. But I don't know, I think, and then there's a black guy, De Niro Laster. He was a football player. I found, I don't want to, could there be someone else with that name? Maybe, probably not, but not sure. He was a football player. A lot of these guys had been low-level athletes. So anyway, so what exactly am I talking about? I'm rambling here. There's so much to talk about. So today, the FBI director named Cash, K-A-S-H, Cash Patel, announced indictments. So there's Chauncey Billups, who just got put in the NBA Hall of Fame. He's been indicted. He's going to be fired from the Blazers coach under the moral turpitude clause, so he's not going to get paid. Terry Rozier, who has a huge contract, he's been hit. And has started getting rolling with the Jontay Porter thing. But there's two interweaving indictments. One is about the sports, the NBA gambling. And the one, Chauncey Billups, he's in that one. Or somebody's in both of them. Is it Chauncey or Terry Rozier? They may be in both of them. But there's another one that the Mafia guys are in. That's about rigged poker games. So every of the 5 New York families has been indicted in this case, except the Colombos. The Gambinos, the Genovese, the Lucchese. What the hell is the other one? Gambino, Genovese, Lucchese, Bonanno. And Chauncey is part of that, and Terry Rozier is part of that. Now I'm thinking. So they used Chauncey and Terry Rozier. They would be present at the games. They might have rented. You see what just Gilbert Arenas was just indicted for letting them have games at his house. I'm sure all of this is all interconnected. They're all telling. For sure. Why wouldn't you? You're Gilbert Arenas. You're definitely telling the FBI what you know. Jontay Porter, they're all giving it up. I'm sure that the Sugar Shane Hennon, a lot of these people probably didn't think of themselves as doing anything illegal, or that it was no big deal. That's how the Mafia make you feel, like, oh, it's no big deal. No, Chauncey. You're about to find out. Rigging poker games. So what were they doing? They were rigging the poker games. Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups were a part of it to make you feel comfortable, like, oh, these celebrities, they had hidden, so those 4 Mafia families operate illegal poker games around the country. Why does someone want to play illegal poker? Well, poker ain't legal everywhere. You can play on your phone and all that stuff, but people like to play against other people for big money. Businessmen, a lot of businessmen, I don't let me say a lot, but I mean, gambling has probably replaced drugs for richer or for higher income people, especially younger guys. that might be doing well as really the high of choice. It's really much more intense than drugs because, I mean, you can't really, I mean, I guess you could OD and ruin your life in a night, but gambling, I mean, you can mess your life up in a day. And you can definitely throw your whole life in the trash can and your family's financial future and all that. You can wreck a whole big company, in a couple months. So there's been all these gambling scandals here, there, boop, bop, bop. So anyway, so the rigged poker game. So they had Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, and others, Gilbert Arenas, would let them have either poker games at their house, or they would have them in rooms that they rented, or they would just be there like, oh, we got a celebrity guest. They would be playing. They would be the face. They would attract people. They had little cameras under the table showing what the cards were so the dealer knew. Barcodes on the cards, so probably someone in a back office. Oh, and then the card shufflers could set the cards. So someone, I would imagine, there was either maybe, if you were running one of these games, you had an operator maybe out of the room that was getting Bluetooth to info and he could control the cards or whatever. So Chauncey and them was helping the mafia cheat people out of tens of millions of dollars. And anyone who thinks, and this is a good lesson for those of you that like to hang with criminals, like criminals will take your shit. The mafia, their first and foremost crime, how it all got started, and what they still do in Sicily right now. I know Sicilians. You can't really have a small business like a family business. They come to mafia, shows up, and like, oh, you got to give us, and they want to basically take damn near all your profit. They're going to leave you just enough to where you stay open, and they want all the rest. And they'll get physical with you at vegetable stands in Sicily. This still goes on now. That's what they started off in America. You've seen The Godfather when he had to kill Don Fanucci. Hey, I'm just going to lean on you like some penitentiary-ish. Like how I used to do the smaller, weaker inmates. Give me that commissary, boy. So this is a big deal. Like, this is Chauncey just got in the Hall of Fame. He's the head coach of the Trailblazers. He's rigging poker games and betting. Terry Rozier, there's Damon Jones, who was an ex-player. He's indicted. That was LeBron James' shooting coach. He would travel with the Lakers. So one of the young black gamblers, I think it was Marvis Fairley. Yeah, Marvis Fairley. Vizino Locks. He, for example, one day Damon Jones told him LeBron's hurt, he ain't gonna play. But this wasn't public knowledge. So no other gamblers knew it. He just knew it because he was in the locker. He would be with LeBron. Although there were two incidents of that, I think, in the indictment. One, LeBron didn't play and they made money. Another one, he paid. Then another time he said LeBron ain't gonna play, but LeBron ended up playing, and the Lakers won or covered the spread or whatever it was. And Marvis Early lost $100,000, but he made Damon Jones give him the $2,500 back that he had paid him. And you might think, see, it's another lesson for you. And for those of you on your entrepreneurial grind, money, the way you get a lot of money is you add up smaller amounts, which might sound duh, Al, but people think like, oh, I want to be a millionaire. I need to figure out something that's going to make me $1 million. No. You need to figure out something that's going to make you $3,000 a day every day for a year. Then you have $1 million. That's a lot easier. You don't really get $1 million at once. This is not how it works, generally. So we paying as little as $2,500 for information that LeBron's not going to play. But if you're doing that every day, plus you're gambling, it adds up. Damon Jones was making about $400,000 a year, I think, as the coach. That's a lot of money, but it isn't when you're gambling. Nowadays, these casinos, they'll take $1 million bets. And the casinos are part of it too, because these gambling guys, I might take a bet from you, and then I might take a bunch of bets. And I need to balance. So for those who don't know how illegal gambling, why it works and it's so popular, and what the line is all about. So the fact that there's always been the line on games, and they say the line, and the newspaper, when I was a little boy and I used to keep up with sports, they would say the line's -3, you know. Why are they telling you this? It's the gambling line. So, mind you, up until fairly recently, gambling was totally illegal. Why in the 1980s would all the newspapers have the gambling line? Because people was gambling. If you take gambling away, that's why these guys are so interested in sports. It ain't because they're watching muscular teens in tight uniforms run back and forth and play with the white man's balls. It's because they got money on the game. Money on the wood make the game all good. Lot of gambling. Like, I'm always shocked at people. Lots of people I know, like guys, I'm like, damn, you gamble like that? I don't like it's, gambling is a monkey's entertainment of like pulling a lever and, you know, I don't, but like, especially like really like the younger white guys that have a couple bucks, like a lot of them are strung out on gambling, but a lot of these, well, of course, in my YouTube work studying the different criminals, you know, my biggest field of knowledge, like the black drug dealers, a lot of them fell off from, I would ask them, like, damn, so how'd you end up? And not even just people I've interviewed, just different people I've met and know, like, and they'll tell you, like, oh, it's gambling. Matter of fact, one of my guys I got some of my iconic photos from, I was over his house. I never interviewed him or nothing, but he gave me some photos, and his brother is someone I interviewed. And I was like, oh, what'd you do this weekend? And he said, oh, I was a pallbearer at Freddie the Saint's funeral. And Freddie, I just happen to know who Freddie the Saint was. He was a big Detroit mafia gambling captain. He was Syrian, so he wasn't a made member, but he was a big deal. My father knew him. He wasn't like my father's boy, but my father was slightly of a, really wasn't a gambler, but he like hung around the gambling stuff a little bit. And I said, oh, how'd you know him? And he was like, who you think could take my bets? Now, at the time, this guy I'm talking about, I know now, he works a job and he's not a criminal, but he was talking about back in the day, he had a run. Well, you know who it was? Remember the episode of BMF where K9 shoots somebody at the basketball game? Well, this is the guy who got shot, but he didn't die. Did he die in the show? The guy who got shot, that's based on, basically, that incident. This is who I'm talking about. But back when he had his run, and he was, you know, he's getting a lot of H money, like he made tons of money. And he told me he lost his money. He never caught a big case. He wasn't a drug addict. So how else would you lose? Listen, you don't lose millions of dollars from being a drug addict. Maybe by making bad decisions, that's possible. But like, you can only do so much drugs. And especially when people once you get off into the opiates, you can kind of ride that through life. Like a lot of these people get on in the Midwest and the East Coast, they're just lifetime opiate. I mean, not that, you know, doing $100 for heroin a day is good, but you never really get out of control. And if you're selling the H, well, you know. So a lot of the big H guys was on the H, but that doesn't cause you to really fall off. You either catch a case, or maybe someone killed you, or you get hit for all your money or something, but the gambling is bad. So the black drug dealers, a lot of these white salesmen, and that's why they're into crypto. Like, that's That's the new sickness, the money addiction of Americans. That's what this gambling stuff's all about. It ain't about the sports, because all of the betting from these guys, Rozier, Terry Rozier, how they caught him up in it. It's called prop betting. So you're not betting on does a team win or lose. You're betting on, oh, is Terry Rozier going to get more or less than 4 assists tonight? These odd little bets that shouldn't be getting that much action. But Terry Rozier allegedly would do things like, okay, fellas, I'm going to take myself out of the game. I'm going to tell the coach I'm hurt at halftime or whatever, and I'm going to make sure I don't get 5. I'm going to make sure I'm less than 4 assists or whatever. And then you have hundreds of thousands of dollars bet on these little odd things. And now with computers, these guys ain't that fucking swift. It's triggering, because they're betting through casinos, it's triggering, abnormal betting pattern. So the feds are probably they probably have just a boatload of data of abnormal betting patterns from the casinos, and they're just picking and choosing who they're going to question and who's going to get charged. The Sugar Shane guy was running an Instagram. Vizino Locks, De Niro Cash, whatever his name, De Niro Lassiter. All these guys. So you see these people selling their picks online. I always thought of them as a scam, and probably most of them are, but some of them had inside information, which is illegal. Are you addicted to gambling? Like, call for help. Like, that should have ruined your life. I'm glad that's one thing I never had any interest in. Very little. Like, I was around it, though. My mother had a boyfriend that did Fed time for running, like a car poker game thing. And then he would gamble heavily. In the 80s, I was a little boy. I'd be down there visiting every Sunday on all the NFL games. He would bet I think he'd bet like $220 a game. So he would be betting $3,500, $4,000 every weekend. You know, triple it for inflation. So he's betting $10,000 a weekend. He would take my bets. And that's like I would bet like $3 a game or something. Or $5 a game with him. He'd be my bookie. Which was fun, but it's kind of, so with me it made, and then my father I just was around gambling stuff from a young age, so it wasn't, I always kind of knew it was kind of shady, kind of predatory. It's just not that interesting to me. And the only way you're gonna win a lot is, now I will tell you, I did used to take people's money shooting dice. But shooting dice in the hood killed more people than cancer. So I was always very leery and careful. I mean, I wouldn't try to make too much. I might get 100 or 2 and get the fuck on before anybody notices. Because all you got to do, people ain't got no education in the ghetto, don't know that them fucking side points odds are very low. 6-8 is almost the same odds as 7 and 11. But 5 and 9, 4 and 10 is lower odds than 7-11. So if you just let me come in and say, 100 you don't 10 to 4, I'm twice as I don't know off the top of my head, I don't know what it is. I think it's damn near 2 to 1. And you're letting me bet 100 to 100. And I just keep doing that, I'm gonna be up. It's an easy formula, and people don't even know the odds because they just caught up in the gambling. Look at the rappers. Quavo killed Loaded Dice. The gambling shit is they've let it get really out of control. Now you can gamble on the phones. Michigan, the #1 state for gambling on the phone. Michigan's always been the #1 state for selling dope, doing dope, gambling, all of it. I don't know what I think it comes from the culture of of people with low caliber tastes with a high income, aka the auto workers. At the peak in the 60s, 70s, 80s, when all the street stuff was at a peak. It was when the auto stuff was at a peak. The auto plants, guys had numbers in there, dope. You could give everything out on credit because you knew they was getting paid. Courtney Brown, senior of Motown Mafia fame, when he got out of prison, brilliant mind, he would take cash from the street and go up to the plant in a van. Well, he had his workers do it. And they would cash. This before there were check cashing spots. And people were paying the Chaldeans 7%, 4% to cash a check, or $25. He'd charge, I think he charged $5 or $10. You would just sign your Chrysler check over to them. Oh, it's $700? Okay, here's $695. And they would make $30,000, $40,000 a month in profit doing that. And then the feds got onto them and they stopped. But so there's a tremendous amount of money in just making incremental profits on frequent transactions, the gambling stuff, all 4 of the 5 mafia families cheating people at cards, using Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier as the face. Again, this has a long precedent. Let's talk about Detroit. So I've done stories on them. You can read Scott Bernstein's written whole chapters of his book on it. I have a story up about the FBI made Michael Jordan take those 2 years off because his gambling was out of control. That's for sure. The FBI agents told Bernstein that, the ones who worked the case. So for 100% that happened. Isaiah Thomas almost was made to retire. Mark Aguirre, who played for the Pistons, was a source for the FBI telling, hey, my friends Jordan and Isaiah got gambling problems, per the FBI. And then there was a big thing here where Tommy Hearns and Isaiah were letting the mafia here do, again, card parties, gambling, poker parties at their house. So why that? It's part of the fun. You're a successful, I'm a 53-year-old Syrian businessman, legal businessman, and I got a lot of money, and I want to have fun on Thursday night in Detroit. Buying pussy don't really cost that much. Drugs, if you want to do some drugs, they don't cost that much. What's going to get you excited is going to have to involve money. And now, okay, so just before the casinos, there's going to be some mob shit. So you get to have the fun of the gambling. Plus, I'm with the mafia. Look at the Sopranos episodes. Frank Sinatra Jr., get the gambling thing. That's just exactly what those are. And plus, I get to be at the champ Tommy Hearns' house. I get Isaiah Thomas is in the game. Shit. So that's what the mafia guys preyed on. Now, did they get a hook into Chauncey and Terry Rozier? Was they owed? Hard to think so with Terry Rozier. I think now Terry Rozier might be connected. It's going to be interesting for all this play out. But again, it's interesting. There is a group of the indicted are some young black gambling guys. So that's kind of new as far as, black people involved in gambling is not new. But as far as them getting indicted in these sports gambling ones, at least. So interesting thing. But the gambling is really widespread in all demographics. It's sick. Really, that's the new thing. And the fact that they've let it be on their phones, they really jumped the shark. The viceification of America. Everything that used to be illegal very recently. Marijuana, gambling. And you could do it, but at least I'm a proponent of things being a little bit illegal because it makes you think, do I really feel like, do I really want to gamble? That's why you try to keep drugs in control to some degree. Like, there's going to be a very small amount of people that no matter what, something's wrong with them, they're going to go find hard drugs. Most people exist on a spectrum where it's like me with alcohol. If there's no alcohol in the house, I don't need a drink. If I'm around alcohol, I'm going to pour some. A lot of people are like that to a greater or lesser extent. And it's true with access to whether it's, that's why the crack was bad in the 80s. Suddenly, You're going to your corner store and the guy that used to sell dollar joints, now you got nickel rocks and it's right there and everybody's doing it. How bad could it be? Next thing you know, smoking crack. 1985, that's how it happened. Gambling on your phone, you can lose your mortgage payment on your lunch break. How would you like that, Playboy? Now, what impact is this going to have on sports? Really inappropriate, I thought. I mean, I don't care about sports, but in 2021, NBA, I think NFL, they have all those big deals they did with FanDuel, DraftKings. It's all become just gambling. No one even cares who wins. It's all about the stats because people are doing those fantasy leagues where, oh, I'm going to use this receiver from this team and this quarterback and boop. You don't care who wins. You care. That's why everybody just watching highlights. Eventually, that's going to get, people are going to lose. I don't know how many young people are watching this. Are people in their 20s, do you have an emotional attachment to sports teams anymore? Like when I was, well, you see older people, or I grew out of it, but when I was young, like I cared, like the Pistons, oh, I'm from Detroit, the Pistons, like it meant something to me. But I felt an attachment to the players and I wanted them to win. I wasn't worried about the stats. But now, so everyone's just watching Sports Center. That one of them low-life sports announcers, Van Pelt, he has a whole show called The Bad Beat. If you even know what a bad beat is, you're a gambler. A bad beat is some low-life shit. Bad beat is an unstatistically improbable event occurs in a poker game or in an athletic event, like a last-minute fumble or something that flips. Maybe not necessarily who wins the game, but who wins the bet. And remember, when you have games where the over-under is 10, oh, you'd think, why are they kicking a field goal? They're down by 9 and there's only 2 minutes to go. Oh, well, because that makes them be down by 6 and the point spread is 7. That's why they're kicking a field goal. But eventually, as people stop caring if the teams win, and as players just focus on their personal stats and move around, and as we're rooting not for a victory, but for this receiver in this game to get a touchdown and this defensive tackle to get a sack in some other game, at some point it'll just kind of break. Maybe. I would imagine we have to be at peak sports because there's other options to do. You can play video games, be online, scroll TikTok, watch all the infinite Tubi movies that have been made. There didn't used to be that much entertainment options not that long ago. I mean, even in the 90s, there's a lot less to do. Now you can occupy yourself on your phone with a lot of stuff other than a sporting game. And then, of course, the case of Shohei Ohtani, probably the most amazing athlete ever, maybe, but definitely in the 21st century. The baseball player who hit 40 home runs and won the Cy Young or whatever it was, like the Babe Ruth of modern times. His translator stole $20 million from him to pay a bookie. And people say it was really Ohtani, and they paying the translator to take the fall, because how the hell could your translator steal $20 million from you and none of your accountants, nobody knew it? But they didn't want to have to make, it was like Jordan. These guys, these sport, man, American society runs off money. It's total corruption. If you can generate a whole lot of money, people will protect you. Like if you're a rapper, white rapper with secret racist songs. This is something I'm, just as an example, not anything I know about. If you can generate a whole lot of money, you will be protected. So, Sugar Shane, our middle-aged white friend, and his younger African-American compatriots are getting thrown under the bus. It ain't going to be the athletes, but the fact that they grabbed Chauncey and Rozier, they must have had to. NBA is going to sacrifice a few people, and they're going to try to cover up the true In a recent survey of NBA players, 45% of them said NBA is way too involved in gambling. Those deals they made with DraftKings and FanDuel are bad. They break the bond between the fans and the players because now they're rooting on stats, not for a team to win. What do you think's how big do you think this is gonna get? Chauncey and him helping the mob cheat people at poker games. That's bad. You can go to prison. That ain't no probation. There's a lot. They're trying to keep the big name players out of it, but well, if you don't know, you ever heard of the Chicago Black Sox scandal? So the Chicago White Sox, through the 1919 World Series, they had to kick out some of the best baseball players ever. Shoeless Joe Jackson, the only guy that could hit as good as Ty Cobb, said he was the purest hitter ever. Banned him for life. Shoeless Joe. They threw the 1919 World Series. That was orchestrated by Arnold the Brain Rothstein. If you've seen Boardwalk Empire, that was him. They fixed the fucking World Series. America's national pastime. And Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis oversaw the case, and he was the baseball commissioner. He kicked them all out. He said we have to keep sports clean or there'll be no... So Kennesaw Mountain Landis's harsh dealings with the baseball players that fixed the 1990 World Series is the only thing that let American sports flourish, because sports you never thought of games being fixed or anything, and they don't play with that. Like, you'd be surprised the amounts of time. Like there was a Boston College, your boy Henry Hill of Goodfellas fame snitched in a Boston College point shaving scandal, and I think people in that case got 20 years. Fixing gambling stuff because you've learned about the Hobbs Act from the Big U case. That's when you're committing an armed robbery that violates interstate commerce. Well, fixing an athletic event in which there's gambling in Las Vegas and other places, that's interstate commerce, baby. That's federal all day. You'll get serious time for that. So look for there to be more for some big name. They're going to try to keep the biggest names out of it, but I bet you a big name gets caught. But Chauncey's and Rozier are big names. Chauncey's the head coach of the Trailblazers. He just got in the Hall of Fame. He brought my Pistons 2 titles. Best of luck to you. This is bad though. So maybe this is a wake-up call. I'm sure by statistical odds, some of you listening to this have a gambling problem. Think about what you're doing and how, like, do you really know how much you lost? Otani's accountant, or him, whoever it was, if he's taking a fall for him, the receipts in the space of like 2 years, he won $140 million and lost $180 million for net losses of $40 million. Guy gambled $250 million. How do you know how much you gamble? And I'm going to tell you some research on how the human brain works. Of course, you remember more anomalous events. So you remember bad and good. You remember when you're in a car wreck. You remember when you won 3,000 betting on the Super Bowl. You put up 500 and it was 6-1. But do you remember the 18 times you lost $140 that weekend, $210? You're at the bar, you're drinking, and you're like, oh, I lost $210 this weekend, and it was fun, and you'd figure you chalk it up. But you're losing $200, $180 every weekend. Dog, that's your car note and insurance. But you don't think of it like, nah, you are paying for entertainment. I mean, but is that all you got left in your life? Did Terry Rozier get less than 5 assists? Did LeBron score more or less than 25? That's your excitement? You ain't even rooting for a team? Come on now, let's get it together. Our prophet, America don't.